that we are having with the supporting sector of our progressive professionals. In our midst, we also have the officials of eThekwini region that are also present with us. I think I saw Comrade Nogala, Comrade Miki, and other officials of eThekwini that are also present. The National Association of Democratic Lawyers, Comrade Jeff, that is our home, Nadel. We will always be Nadel in our hearts and in our bloodstream. The Black Lawyers Association is also present. We also have members from the Black ICT Forum, a very another important forum that is very critical at this particular time of our transformation, but also in the world, because there's a lot of things that have got to do with how to ensure that we create employment and replace those much needed jobs that are being replaced by management, Black Engineering of South Africa. We also have the South African Medical Association, comrades from African Chartered Accountants, practitioners. Technical support that you once provided for free to our municipalities. We also have comrades from the Institution of the African Diaspora, as well as the researchers, architects, consultants in data cybersecurity sector. There might be other sectors that you might not have
members of the PTT, PWC that are present, that were asked to join us, the leadership of the region, led by the officials of the region, and other officials that are here, the regional treasurer. I haven't seen some, if there are others, but they are here. The leadership of the alliance, Comrade Mtengu, where is he? Yeah, he's here, Comrade Mtengu, Chairman Mtengu, the provincial secretary of the South African Communist Party. He was hiding from me. The leadership of COSATU, the leadership of SANCO, the leadership of our aides, the esteemed members of the professional sector that are present here, compatriot friends, comrades, and all of us who are present. It is the honor of the ANC to join so many of our compatriots at this August gathering. The ANC is deeply humbled by the response from all of our dear comrades to come and to break bread with us this morning. We appreciate that you convened this session on a working day and that you put your responsibilities aside in order to be with us this morning. Comrades and compatriots, friends, we have been given a very simple task, the task of stating the objective of today's meeting. However, before we start, let us share a brief context that gave rise to today's meeting. It is a matter of public record that last year, our movement in KwaZulu-Natal suffered a huge setback and pause. It is also a fact that those results occasioned our release of the levers of power in this cause. Yes, we are now part of the government of provincial unity, albeit being able to play our role in the context of the outcome of the electoral result we achieved last year. Today we converge here as the ANC that acknowledges that setback, but the one that is also on the firm path of rebuilding and building back better. For your benefit, we are a 66-member Anc Kzn provincial task team, appointed by the national leadership of the ANC to rebuild the Congress movement in this province. We are led by the convener, Comrade Jeff Kadebe, and we are comprising a diverse group of ANC leaders who are all committed to restoring the ANC and to ensuring that we once again are able to gain the trust of the people of our province. We have collectively accepted this task, not out of ego, but from a profound appreciation of the ANC's mandate, a mandate that has not been fully executed. In this PTT, we lead with unity, and we practice unity in action. Compatriots and fellow activists, progressive professionals are an integral motive force to the attainment of the national democratic society. For the past 31 years of democratic rule, progressive professionals have nurtured and supported this important project. We all collaborated against numerous challenges to create a South Africa that is not only fairer and committed to achieving equality, but also capable of competing with other economies around the world. The very caring public administration that has changed our people's lives for the better is led by professional women and men who go beyond the call of duty to execute their tasks. Despite the slow pace of transformation, the private sector is also led by dedicated progressive professionals who understand that theirs is more than just about the bottom line, but about preparing for generations yet to come. We must stress, compatriots, that the struggle for total emancipation is an ongoing one that requires all the progressive forces to occupy the forward trenches towards accomplishment. Compatriots, the revolution still faces resistance. The socio-economic transformation project is currently experiencing a backlash from those who benefited from the apartheid project. Emboldened by the weakness that they perceive in us, they have gone to the unprecedented lengths to undermine the democratic state, including spreading lies about the persecution of a particular race when that is not the case. Hence, we have a problem with Donald Trump and the US. This is a desperate attempt to hold on to racially based privileges. This is a direct attack to the transformation project. This is undermining the decades of work that you, as progressive professionals, have put into to rebuild our country. Despite our differences, we must all rise to protect our hard-won gains of our revolution. We appreciate that as different professions, you advance different sectoral issues. However, we need to appreciate that the very foundation of our democracy is under threat, and that if we do not protect this foundation, we may have more worry, we may have to worry about a lot in the future than sectoral issues. For its part, the ANC commits to prioritize and addressing sectoral issues, but it is of the view that it is the democratic project that needs protection from all sorts of kinds of attacks. Compatriots, no revolution is a straight line. Revolutions by their nature are full of twists and turns. In a way, there are bound to be mistakes and missteps. The ANC acknowledges that the 2024 election results were partly influenced by various missteps and oversights in the execution of our revolution. Our performance at the polls was also influenced by incumbency, as we become the victims of our own success at times. Yes, we accept that they were both objective and subjective factors at play. But we also accept that the geopolitical environment also had a bearing. In addition to all of these factors, the external factors that contributed to our poor performance, we acknowledge that a gap may have developed between us and the progressive professionals. This means that in 2024, we went to war with some of our most effective soldiers not fully mobilized for the war effort. And through this morning's engagement, we are formally starting the process of rebuilding and recalibrating the relationship that we have with progressive professionals. We have heeded the call of the progressive professionals, and we are intervening decisively by boldly declaring that never again shall it be that the progressive professionals will feel themselves a supernumerary to the struggle that they are part of. Compatriots, last year, our fraternal ally in Southwest Africa's People Organization, commonly known as SAPO, in Namibia won the national election by 57%. While we celebrated the SWAPO victory, we remain concerned with the trend that has developed over the years, where African liberation movements lose power, and in their place, neoliberal or counter-revolutionary parties ascend to power. These liberation movements fail, not necessarily because they are in art, but also because there is a concerted campaign at times to undermine them. Yes, we must also own up to our own mistakes and be able and be prepared to adapt. In the context of the new scramble for Africa and an open attack on the progressive forces by the global right, we should be vigilant that even as we must hold each other accountable, that we do not surrender freedom to the reactionary forces. We must defend the revolution and should not be used to strip it of its power and hand it over to our detractors. And let us not cut our nose to spite our face. We understand this identity, and therefore, in renewing and rebuilding the ANC, we have adopted certain fundamental principles. And these principles are all aimed to recalibrate our relations between the ANC and the progressive professionals. That is located in the context of these principles that we have adopted when we are adopting the program of action. The first of those principles is power with accountability, meaning democratic centralism. Democratic centralism is vital to our movement, but needs to evolve. We demand radical transparency and accountability for the task assigned to us, and that each and every one of us, as leaders of the movement, wherever we are, we must and we should be accountable. The second of these is anti-alienation, restoring the moral compass. The ANC must embody integrity and service, dismantling patronage networks, prioritizing ethical action, and we should lead to action reflecting the values we promote. The people are the heart of our revolution, and the ANC's strength lies in its branches and communities, and will rebuild reconnecting with the masses and restoring lost trust. And each branch will become an active and responsive revolutionary cell addressing the everyday struggles of our people. But we are prioritizing unity and cohesion. For us, internal divisions are actually seeds of our movement, and we are committed, therefore, to lead with unity and practice unity in action. We are prioritizing as our cardinal thing is service to the people, which is the revolutionary movement. Our existence is justified only through service. We prioritize urgent action against poverty, inequality, and unemployment. And public services will be delivered with efficient transparency and a deep understanding that the people comes first, always. Now, as much as we will focus on renewing the ANC, we are also compatriots want to seek to inform us that we must also deal with the current issues that this country needs to be dealt with during this period. And therefore, we may seek to inform us that all the ills affecting our country stem from the ANC. Some say that, and that is not true. But we understand why some say that. Some say that because they want to make everybody to believe the ANC is the biggest problem. And in fact, they've been able to make that narrative in the country. But the truth of the matter is that the ANC is a defender of society. And we will always defend our people, and we will always be on the side of our people. And therefore, we must and we should be found championing the people's issues. As the ANC, we are held to a higher bar than other political formations, particularly those with zero experience in running the country. And we are certain. But nonetheless, as a collective of activists, we shoulder the responsibility to separate the wheat from the chaff and to identify the real challenges we face. We are the only ones who can undertake that exercise without an ulterior motive or seeking to score cheap political gains when we serve our people, because we have been with the people since our formation 113 years ago. The national dialogue, as I will move to our conclusion. The plan and dialogue provide the best platform to shape society we are. It is a new platform, that if harnessed properly, will provide a reset for our country and focus all of us on a single goal of building a truly united, inclusive, and prosperous society. As the ANC, we have resolved to commission a discussion paper towards the national plan, a paper that will not only articulate our aspirations as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but will also help to defend the revolution. We need progressive professionals to contribute to this paper. And want to urge you that in all your respective professions, you pick up the issues that you think are the issues that all of us should deal with in the process leading towards the national plan. If we do not take charge of this process, our critics will craft a future that we cannot identify, the one that will set us back on our revolution for decades. Compared of the fact of the matter is that we lost in 2024 means that the GPU has become a tactical site of struggle. And I want to repeat, the GPU has become a tactical site of struggle. And it is not a strategic site, because the only strategic site is for the ANC to regain its lost power. And anyone who has an issue with the GPU or the GNU by extension must understand this is a tactical side of struggle. And it is not about us being comfortable with it. We will never and we shall never be comfortable with it. But we must protect it, because it is the only thing we have that can bring stability in our country. So having said that, we want to reiterate our commitment to you, that we will continue to participate in GPU as long as we serve our people and bring stability to our world. The only certain that the ANC can lead the GPU is when we go to the 2029 general elections. But the route that goes there starts in 2026. And we hope we can galvanize all social partners, all progressive in this country, who love democracy, to do at least to agree on one thing and one thing only. That is to deliver victory for the application of democracy in 2026. The ANC, for example, the ANC that belongs to everyone is our ANC. It does not belong to us, the leadership of the ANC. It does not belong to the structures or solely the members of the ANC. It belongs to all of us. It belongs to all South Africans. It belongs to this continent of Africa. So as it works hard to restore its national character, the ANC also seeks to reconnect with all the progressive forces who share its vision. So our maturity informs us that we cannot afford the fragmentation of the progressive forces. That any leader of the ANC engaged in the counter-revolutionary act of gatekeeping and isolation of comrades, we will simply not allow that to happen, because it will pull us back. All we do is to create space for all those who would like to be part of the activity. The ANC has always been a mass-based organization, and no one can turn it into an elitist political formation. So the purpose in a nutshell is to introduce ourselves to the progressive professionals, to get a commitment from progressive professionals to work with the ANC as we rebuild and renew ourselves, to establish and reincorporate the sector-specific plans to enhance ANC's relations with progressive professionals, to recenter the ANC as the leader of society, and to emerge in the social compact between the ANC and progressive professionals as a means of formalizing the relationship. So, compatriots, the ANC is a home for all the progressive forces. The ANC is the only political formation with a long-term vision for our country. And the ANC is the only one with a history of government where the lives of our people change and change for the better. The mandate that we carry is bigger than any individual's pursuit of power. in unequivocally declaring that South Africa belongs to all religions, black and white, may we all live up to this declaration. Siyabonga kakhulu. You're all welcome.
Thank you very much, Comrade Coordinator, for setting the tone. Let's give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. I will now invite the provincial convener, Comrade Mike Mabia. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Comrade Jeff Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. I want to join my comrades and colleagues in the Provincial Task Team officials in welcoming all the officials who are present here today in KwaZulu-Natal for this important engagement this morning. May I also take this opportunity to say to you as professionals that the African National Congress, the ANC, in general, values your contribution in building a South Africa that must be home for all its people. But more particularly, here in KwaZulu-Natal, we want to ensure that you as professionals are being uplifted because we know that we were previously disadvantaged by the system of apartheid. The ANC Provincial Task Team, which I have the privilege to lead, wants to humble itself before you and commit ourselves in working closely with you to improve your quality of life and also to ensure that you are part of a prosperous South Africa. I want to emphasize that my doors are wide open. And those of my colleagues on the main table here and the entirety of the Provincial Task Team on your suggestions that you may have in order for us to build a common future together. Our country, South Africa, has always been led by professionals, as was seen by the pioneering role played by African intellectuals in the struggle against colonial rule and apartheid. The formation of the ANC in 1912 was spearheaded to a large measure by intellectuals working with our kings, our queens, as well as the clergy. This was in direct response to the total provocation and systematic dismantling of African political and economic progress by colonialists when they formed the Union of South Africa in 1912. After Britain abolished slavery in 1834, many Africans exploited the liberal Cape policies and took the opportunity to study in missionary schools. By the late 1800s, African graduates had attained status of intellectuals and became livestock owners, becoming barristers, entrepreneurs, teachers, as well as publishers. This new renaissance threatened the Afrikaners who had rejected the 1834 Act to end slavery. That's the main reason for the Great Trek of 1836 from the Cape to the interior. Before 1910, the infamous Union of South Africa Act that excluded black people from the corridors of power in Cape Town. African farmers had made tremendous progress and success, owning over 1.5 million hectares of land, about 7% of arable land. They held many farms as well as properties. You had also intellectuals such as lawyers like Anc Kzn, Richard Msimang. These men were very instrumental in the formation of the ANC. In the Eastern Cape as well, you had such historic figures such as John Tengo Jabavu, who owned a newspaper called Ingo Zabansundu. You had Solomon Plaquet in Northern Cape, who owned a newspaper called Kuranga Yabetswana, and also here in KwaZulu-Natal, John Lalibale Dube owning Ilanga Lasenatal. All these publications were spreading political consciousness amongst the masses of our people. So I'm mentioning this point to highlight a fundamental point, that professionals have always been at the forefront of the struggle for liberation. Many of these intellectuals even studied at universities, very prestigious universities in Europe as well as in the United States of America, and came back home in South Africa to own flourishing medical professions and practices, education involved in trading, in transport, and various other businesses. John became the first president of the African National Congress, owned one of the most successful educational institutions, Ohlange High School, which at its inception began as a vocational college, training skilled workforce that the economy so desperately needed and even needs at this moment in time. I don't want to forget women. A very powerful woman by the name of Charlotte Maxeke, a first black African woman graduate, a scientist, founded the Bantu Women's League as well as the Wilberforce Institute. I'm mentioning these historic facts to underscore one fundamental point, and that is professionals have a very important and strategic role to play in consolidating our democracy, as well as ensuring that you as professionals lead in the second transition of economic transformation and emancipation of our people, to making sure that the political freedoms that we attained in 1994 is translated into economic independence for the rest of our people. We need your intellectual capital. We need your expertise as professionals so that the policies, the decisions that your government takes on a daily basis may resonate with our people as a whole. I'm calling upon you that let all of us together rekindle that spirit of 1955, 70 years ago, when our fathers and mothers gathered in a small place in Soweto called Kliptown to adopt the Freedom Charter. This Freedom Charter, as we all know, became the blueprint of the South Africa that we know today. And that 1955 Congress of the People in Kliptown really made this movement a truly non-racial organization. So as we meet here today in 2025, let's not forget our origins, that we are basically a non-racial organization, and we need to have a specific focus on that the economic independence means the emancipation of all of South Africa's people. When you look at the Freedom Charter as a whole, all these clauses, by and large, these clauses, the vision of the Freedom Charter, has been attained or are reachable. But one clause on the economy is still very elusive, and for the majority of South Africa's people, especially those who were previously disadvantaged by the system of apartheid. Let us together rekindle again that spirit of the 1980s, where professionals of all races were in the forefront and in the trenches of the United Democratic Front, the UDF, to make apartheid ungovernable, to make apartheid unworkable. But today, we must make government to work for all of us, especially the majority of our people. So you, as professionals, you have to go back and dig the trenches. But this time around, not against a system, but to empower our people as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen and compatriots, before I indicate what I believe can be done in order to ensure we improve the quality of lives of our people, I think it will be remiss of me if I did not indicate the progress that is being made in the real average household income by population group of households between 2006 and 2023, according to Stats SA's Income and Expenditure Survey. As they always say, figures don't lie. Between 2006 and 2023, households headed by Black Africans experienced the most significant real income growth, amounting to 46%, with their income rising from 48,407 Rand to 142,632. And this was followed by colored-headed household, which recorded a real income growth of 25.8%, increasing from 207,256 rands in 2006 to 260,816 in 2023. Households headed by Indian and Asian individuals experienced a real income growth of 18.9%, with figures rising from 351,093 Rand in 2006 to 217,432 Rand in 2023. In contrast, white-headed households were the only demographic group to report a decline in real income, with a decrease of 7.7%, decreasing from 732,938 rands in 2006 to 676,375 rand in 2023. Even though these figures show that the average black household income is increasing, but there is still a large gap that needs to be filled, and much more needs to be done to close that gap between the various demographic groups. Which brings me to this fundamental point which I want to highlight, and that is we need economic empowerment for the majority of South African people. In 2012, on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the ANC, a centenary celebration in Mangaung, at our 53rd national conference, the ANC took a very deliberate, strategic decision to accelerate economic empowerment of our people. We concluded that 1994 heralded our political freedom when, for the first time in history, we all voted for parties of our own choice, regardless of the skin color. We further concluded in Mangaung that we as South Africans had consolidated institutions of constitutional democracy, and that therefore we're entering a second phase of our transition that must be characterized by radical socio-economic transformation. I'm sure you've heard that word before. It is not a swear word. The radical socio-economic transformation calls for your government, our government, to make sure that we empower our people as a whole, not few individuals, which currently is represented by white and male. Let me show you a few examples to highlight my point. 2 weeks ago, our Minister of Finance, Anc Kzn, presented a budget which is in the various stages of being approved. And one of the stunning revelations in this budget is procurement, large sums of money, almost more than R1 trillion for procurement. So as professionals, I want you to be at the forefront to ask your government, where is this money being spent that your government that we have elected on procurement? Does it advance the interests of all these lawyers that I see before me, all these accountants and various professions? Budget is a very important instrument in the hands of the people, represented by our representatives in government, to change the lives of our people. So government is not a helpless, as many people might think, that because the economy is controlled by the private sector, almost 75 to 80% of the economy is in private hands. But the government, your representatives that you elected, have a very important strategic role to play on procurement, the ministers that are there, whether at national level or MECs in the provinces, they have a very important decision-making powers, policy directives by a stroke of the pen can empower people. I know because I've been a minister for 25 years from 1994 to 2019. I know the power of a signature, how important it is that must be used effectively and efficiently to empower our people. Regulatory role. I told you that the economy is in private hands, but government is not helpless because it plays a very important regulatory role. Take, for example, the Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition. He controls, he regulates a very important act called the Companies Act. So in other words, he regulates even the private sector, how they need to manage in the private sector. And we come to the resources. We're celebrating 70 years of the Freedom Charter. And one of the important clauses in that charter, the mineral resources beneath the soil shall be transferred to the ownership of the people as a whole. Very important clause of the Freedom Charter. South Africa is blessed with vast resources of minerals, diamonds, gold, platinum, manganese, you name it. I even believe we have oil, but we still don't have people with long noses how to sniff where the oil is. So in 2002, your public representatives in Cape Town, I was there, I was a member of parliament. We voted for the Minerals Development Act, Minerals and Petroleum Development Act. That vests mineral rights in the hands of the people, in the hands of the state on behalf of the people. When those officials at the Department of Mineral Resources and the minister, when they issue those mineral rights, who are they issuing them to? In other words, government has a very important strategic role to play in ensuring that this economic emancipation of the people can be done. Other countries that are blessed with resources such as oil in the Middle East, they hear about poverty. They don't understand why we here in Africa are still talking about poverty when we have so much resources beneath the soil. So I'm trying to agitate you as professionals that there's a job to be done. Let's do it together. Just do like those pioneers who formed the ANC in 1912, those professionals. They were in the forefront. So become at the center of this new struggle, not with guns and Molotov cocktails and so on, but with your capital in your brains to lead this struggle of the emancipation of our people economically. It can be done. Many countries have done so, but we can only succeed if we do this together. So I want to indicate that on behalf of the provincial task team, we are ready, we are willing to work with you very closely to ensure that we remove obstacles in the way for us here in KwaZulu-Natal to improve the quality of lives of our people. We are in the government of provincial unity, working very well with our coalition partners, but we can still do more. But we need to support as professionals to put those in government on their toes to do the right thing. You need to ensure that the municipalities work for our people. I want to emphasize this point. Until things are right, we can't have a situation that 40 or 54 municipalities in this province are defined by National Treasury as facing serious financial problems. I was reading the report of the Auditor General. It's a very embarrassing that almost 92% of procurements that are taking place are not happening in accordance with law. So you as professionals, you know what is happening on the ground. Let's get our municipalities to work. Let's get eThekwini, let's get Umsunduzi, let's get all these municipalities to deliver better quality services for our people. Our focus as this provincial task team is the people, not merely card-carrying members of the ANC. The majority of the people that vote for the ANC are people who don't even have a card of the ANC. These are the people that our coordinator is saying is our focus. Our people come first. As I said, my doors are open, and those of the PTT, especially the officials, we will leave no stone unturned in rooting out corruption wherever it rears its ugly head. Factions, I don't even want to talk about that. Anybody who calls himself or herself ANC is involved in factions. That does not exist in our vocabulary. So, I want to assure you that we want to work with you to make your lives better as professionals, but also to encourage you to be at the forefront on this new struggle for the empowerment, not only of you as professionals, but of our people as a whole. Let's work together to renew and rebuild this organization that many of our leaders laid down their lives for you and I to be free. Now that we are free, let's make South Africa a home for all that must be prosperous. As you always say, the ANC is a united, what else? Non-racial, what is the other one? Non-sexist. This prosperity, we background. Let's focus on this prosperous ANC. There is no harm in making it in life. Let's encourage young people to be entrepreneurs because they can create jobs for the people and make a prosperous future for their children. So I'm with you in this struggle any time of the day. If you want to come and talk about prosperity, let's dig it, baby. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Convener Comrade Jeff, for a message that gives hope to all of us. And thank you very much to the coordinator as well. We'll now move to engagement. This meeting is live on various platforms of social media. We're moving to engagement. Representing PPF, will ask Pumelelo Zikalala.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning to yourself, and good morning to the PTT of the African National Congress led by Comrade Jeff. When Comrade Nomusa was here, she acknowledged a lot of organizations that are here represented by different individuals. I'm therefore not going to try and walk that route. Safe to say that I acknowledge all of them and appreciate that we have been invited to this meeting as the Progressive Professionals Forum. I think it is imperative that we emphasize that appreciation of being invited to this meeting by the African National Congress. More so because as a PPF, we think of ourselves as a collective of professionals, both that we are going to align ourselves with the leftist organization, particularly the African National Congress and the Alliance. That has not changed. We have been willing to participate in many of the structures of the African National Congress, including the technical committees that would see the African National Congress implementing its resolutions that it takes in many of the conferences that the ANC holds. We've been willing to see ourselves participating in the structures of ANC government. Unfortunately, now we've got a GNU, which we have to accept. But we've been willing to participate in those platforms in implementing again and turning resolutions of the African National Congress into government policies and implement those policies. We've been looking at ourselves as an integral motive force, but also as beneficiaries of the work that has been done by the Matthias that Comrade Jeff you speak about when you are on this platform. We must say that the engagement between us and the African National Congress has not been up to the level that we thought it should have been in all the time that we have existed. We therefore have been worried that the think tank that we are is not as such being utilized. You produce it because we believe we have been products of the ANC and the ANC governments. You produce us, but we then don't get to be utilized. And that has been wrong in our view. And we're hoping that this is a start of many engagements that are going to come where we are going to contribute to the hegemony that you want to see, or we want to see, because we don't want to have a situation where the PPF is looked at as an organization that sees itself outside of the many programs and structures of the African National Congress and the alliance partners. We are hoping, therefore, as I've said, that this is a start of many engagements. And these engagements, Comrade Ndiema, are not going to come only when we're going for elections. They are going to be coming, and we continue to engage to fortify whatever resolution that needs to be fortified. We must, at the outset, say that in our objectives, we have said we want to work with leftist organizations, but the ANC has always been in the forefront of these organizations. And that still remains the situation. In our view, the ANC is not yet at the seabed, Comrade Ndiema. But if a few things you've mentioned and a few things that have been mentioned by Comrade Jeff, continue, the ANC may find itself in the seabed. The fact that we've been losing election by election, not only these last elections, proves that there is something wrong that is happening, but how it is being addressed, maybe it does not solve the problem such that we come back and we float as the leader of society that we expect ourselves to be. Maybe it will be important that accountability of those that are employed and deployed by the ANC is a little bit tightened, so that it's formally known that you account to the African National Congress. You are not there on your own. Even if you are a leader, you are employed and deployed and therefore account to the African National Congress, such that whatever you implement are the resolutions of the African National Congress and the government thereof. Maybe it will be imperative that the attendance of the Oliver Tambo School of Leadership is opened up to many. There are many who become leaders lately, but when you ask them about the African National Congress and the history of the African National Congress, you find very little from them. Comrade Jeff, I think it is 1886 to 1934, somewhere around there, where the issue of the poor white was looked at, and it was solved by the then government. So for us to have BEE is not something we should be ashamed of. There are many black people who are still suffering, irrespective of the work that the African National Congress has done. So it is correct that we still look at solving those problems of the black people. I think one of the obstacles that we should therefore solve and maybe remove is poor communication between the African National Congress, the PPF, and other relevant organizations to the PPF. It is important also that we appreciate that for the ANC to remain afloat and to remain loved by the people, serving the people is important. Respecting the people is important. Communicating with the people is important. And as such, Comrade Jeff and the leadership of the PTT, we want to end by saying, if this is not going to be the last meeting of these comrades that are here today and the African National Congress, we are hoping that a contribution bigger than what you're going to get today is going to be seen by yourselves, and therefore the ANC will go back to winning elections and not be ruling with the erstwhile colonizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabalala. We'll now invite from the legal fraternity, Abin Badal.
Greeting comrades, PTT leadership and other ANC leadership this morning, colleagues and friends. I wish to extend our thanks in allowing the legal fraternity to speak today at this engagement. I'd like especially to greet my colleagues in both the BLA and NADEL who are here today, and some of my colleagues in Amal as well, and wish to thank Ms. Savera Maraj for being elected to the Legal Practice Council in KZN. The legal fraternity welcomes the engagement with the ANC as part of a broader dialogue to reset and renew. The legal fraternity faces numerous challenges, for example, skewed briefing patterns and lack of quality state work for black practitioners in the main, who still remain on the margins of the profession 30 years after liberation. This is unacceptable. This and many other issues need to be part of addressing the imbalances of the past. Many movements by successive governments have failed to adequately address what is increasingly becoming a crisis. However, all is not lost. Positives include the ongoing transformation of the judiciary in both race and gender, and a vibrant constitutional democracy. We can be proud to say, as South Africans, that what's happening to dissenting lawyers in Trump's America will not happen here. The legal sector codes promoting greater access of black practitioners into the profession is a welcome development, and we look to the government in strenuously opposing its implementation by the Norton Rose attorneys who have put up an opposition affidavit to the legal sector codes. The legal fraternity stands ready to play its role in implementing the outcomes of the Zondo report and is assisting the NPA, who unfortunately is fast losing the faith and confidence of the people. We look forward in participating in the proposed national dialogue in the interests of charting a new road for the country and our people. In 2022, Advocate Tembeka Nguka Toby, writing, and I quote, says the following: "In its 110th year of existence, it is necessary for the ANC to recall the vision of its founders. They lacked formal political power, they had idealism. Often today's political class, which is indifferent to suffering, has no idealism. There's a risk that indifference will soon turn to a great betrayal. ANC founders believed in constitutional governance, but they also believed in justice as well. By returning to constitutionalism, we can pay homage to the founding generation. The ball is in our court, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, and we look forward to engaging this morning, and thank you again."
Thank you very much, Comrade Abin. We'll then move on to managers. Bosi Petu is going to be representing the managers. We're giving everybody 5 minutes so that we can all go back to work.
Thank you so much, Program Director. My name is Busisiwe Pepu, not Petu. And this morning, I would like to just honor the leadership of the ANC in all spheres and all portfolios observed, the members of the ANC, the managers and professionals that are presented here, the friends and partners of the ANC, the leadership and the members of the BMF. I'm honored and grateful as a professional industrial psychologist to be standing here this morning on behalf of the Black Management Forum. Firstly, the Black Management Forum believes in presentation for Black professional and executives at management levels. And as we all know, that the BMF has focused on positioning the championing of transformation and the managerial leadership in South Africa. And amongst its pillars, it has been the managerial leadership development, the socio-economic transformation, youth and women empowerment, amongst others. So today I'm going to be speaking on managers and business transformation and empowerment. And according to the stats, effective management significantly impacts employee satisfaction, engagement, and retention, with managers' relationship with employees accounting for 86% of their satisfaction with interpersonal ties at work. Poor management can lead to decrease productivity, profitability, and increase turnover, which we then know that it then affects economic issues, or it then leads to economic issues, which others can deliberate on. And the question that we can then ask ourselves this morning is, why are managers selected to manage? Firstly, there are just 4 areas that I would like to touch on. The first one is because of the competence, which the competence is based on the knowledge that a person has, the skills, and the attitude. Within our government, we know that we have the DPSA that champions the competence selection using assessment or cognitive and behavioral and skills assessment to select managers. However, we know I'm one of the professionals that assesses the directors or at director level, is that the challenge we always have is that the political preference always overrides the competent candidate being selected for the position. There's a significant skills lack within our management levels. The third one, which is leading talent. Leading talent involves leading yourself as a manager and leading others. The fourth one is you grow talent. A good manager is always able to grow himself, herself, and also grow others, and ensuring that there is succession planning in the positions that they hold. Okay, so what I want to touch on briefly is what are the key causes of stress amongst managers? As per research, first one is debt, which falls under self-management. Second one is divorce, which falls on self-management. Third one is disease, which falls under self-management. Fourth one is depression. There are many others then, but I would like to end on this one as a matter to be considered in this meeting this morning as the key causes of stress, which then therefore, for any organization that is here, you'll then have to evaluate your organization in relation to what is the debt level, or where is, the spending of individuals in relation to the salaries that they are earning, or are the salaries also enough, to meet the needs of those who are leading in the organization. And I want to quickly just then touch on stress and depression, which basically bringing us to a point of, are we paying attention to mental health issues in the organizations? On the recent survey that has been done, 71% of people felt stressed to the point where they could not cope or deal with things. And this is at management level. And I wouldn't deal then with the others for the sake of time. So, and then I just want to then just touch on the skills deficit within the management band. So the first one is self-management, just managing self. Second one is leadership, which basically borders on the area of time management, planning, and organizing and result orientation. Third one is business acumen as a deficit, which then just strictly targeting on problem solving and decision making. People management, touching on skills transfer, mentoring, coaching, and promoting others in their positions. And lastly is financial management. The next question is, what must you then do next? So the first one is the personal skills audit exercise, which as healthy individuals, as healthy managers, we have to be doing this more regular than we are in every area of our lives. Personal skills audit in relation to in the position where you were selected, how far have you increased the skills depth of the position that you're functioning on? The second one is the skills endowment plan. Skills endowment plan. Skills endowment plan. The third one is the skills transfer. The fourth one is then the legacy. The legacy. And for the sake of time, I will then not be able to really just unpack a number of the areas, but I'm available for further questions after the meeting. The next one of what you must do next is that you must be ready to manage the robots. What we have not talked much is the presence of artificial intelligence. And I think we've so much undermined the presence of robots in our everyday lives. Whilst it's so nice to be spending time on our phones and our iPads and our laptops, so is the presence of robots that are currently being manufactured to represent the people that you are currently managing, including yourself. Then the next one is on then the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the now, is the language of today. And therefore, then the last thing that you will need to do is to upskill yourself and ensure that you are ready for the next technological or digital era that we have entered. As I close, life starts from inside your heart. I quote from Jim Quick, he says, if an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. If broken by an inside force, life begins. Great things always begins from the inside. So basically, in terms of the management approach, inside out has always and will always be the best strategic focus for any personal and management development. And a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And the question as I end is, what is the one step that you will take today to manage yourself and manage others better? Thank you so much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Busi. Apologies for saying Petu instead of Pefu. We'll now invite Dr. Lusanda Zwane from the medical fraternity.
Good morning to leadership present and to all sectors represented in the House. Ushabalala, for some reason, came to the front and now everyone is. I'm sitting asking myself, can't I speak from down there? But it's fine. My name is Ulusanda Wagwazwane Sibongo. I have been asked to speak on behalf of the medical fraternity. This is a fraternity where activism is a central part of the work that we do. We strive for social justice for the people that we represent, be it in the public or the private sector. However, it becomes weird, or it becomes rather strange when in the space of the medical fraternity, we have to distinguish whether we are comrades or whether we are not comrades, when the two should be married. Now, I think it's up to this leadership to then answer the question, which I think is what we're doing now. What has made the space of the ANC antagonistic to professionals? What has made it isolate intellectuals? And how do we correct that going forward? How does the ANC find a way to work together, as you presented, Comrade Chair, with intellectuals and with professionals working hand in hand with the ANC? During COVID, there's a statement that President Ramaphosa always used to make that stands out to me even now, that speaks on building a new social compact. And particularly in KZN, I think this matters the most. What is the social compact that the department is building with institutions in our province? UKZN has always been a beacon of hope in terms of pioneering of research in terms of HIV and AIDS in this province. in the news, we have heard that there is a trial of a cure, or rather patients who are no longer presenting as HIV positive. How do we merge that work with the department, and how do we move forward when we as a province are sitting with the highest new HIV infection rate? How does the department reach a social compact with doctors in private, with facilities in private, that can meet the department at its place of need? We're speaking in things like oncology, we're speaking with things like investigative radiology. With education as well, how does the department utilize, or rather how does government utilize its international relations? The ANC has pioneered a brilliant program, the Nelson Mandela Fidel Castro program, that has seen the training of many doctors. But equally, how do we extend that and change the face of our medicine based on the experiences that we have there? When these dialogues begin, it is hopeful to us that they will extend and they will take into consideration some of the ideas we have about a sector that we love. Most importantly, I would be amiss to say that there's been great development, particularly in terms of infrastructure. I'll take, for example, one hospital that I worked in here in KZN. It's been a hospital that has been at the head of the news with portfolio oversight committees going to it, Wentworth Hospital. Now, I worked at Wentworth Hospital for a year. I know the work we do, I know the capacity that Wentworth has for its people. I know the development into infrastructure that has gone into Wentworth Hospital. I know that Wentworth Hospital has 2 casualties, for example, which could save the burden of traffic within the hospital. But I do know that staffing plays a huge role in undermining the service delivery that government can do. And as a result, we would urge the ANC to come closer to the issue of unemployed doctors, unemployable doctors, unemployed nurses, unemployed healthcare workers who do have the opportunity or who do have the chance to be able to contribute meaningfully to government, but equally reaching out to public to ensure that there is this public-private partnership that eases the burden from the state to be the only one that hires. But more than anything, I think we appreciate such a platform for all professionals, and I do hope that these platforms will sensitize professionals and that the people that we see here today will be the same people who will see at programs of the ANC, at political classes of the ANC, at door-to-doors of the ANC. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lusanda. I will now invite from the public sector, local government, Vezi.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Greetings to the leadership of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and greetings to all guests present here. My name, Program Director, is Vezi. I am the municipal manager of Dr. Anc Kzn at Dlamini Zuma local municipality in Underberg. We are a real municipality, we're not a conference late. It's an existing municipality that is doing very well, but here I represent the ILTM. UMM law is short for municipal manager. So MM is not my name, but it's my position. I represent the Institute of Local Government, and the ILGM is a professional organization for persons holding management positions in local government. Program Director, we strive to ensure good governance, ethical conduct by our members, professional development and conduct. We strive to stop and eradicate the decay that is set in local government. It's a non-story, Program Director, that everywhere in the country, not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but everywhere in the country, local government, there are challenges. So the ILTM stands firm in saying, but we are against all the ills. The only way that the ANC can restore the confidence of our people in it is by, among other things, reviving its desire for a clean and accountable local government. Local government program director is the sphere closest to the voters, and therefore, through its municipalities, the ANC is able to communicate with the voters on a daily basis. An ANC-controlled municipality or governed municipality must be a model municipality, a municipality which others want to emulate. We decry municipalities that are bankrupt, program director, where the roads are riddled with potholes, where raw sewer runs into the streets, where corruption, fraud, nepotism, and patronage are the order of the day. So the ILGM is saying we support the struggle by the ANC to restore municipalities to the tone of the white paper in local government. Because the white tone in local government is an extract from our old document called Ready to Govern, which was circulating in the early 90s, in the early 80s, where the ANC, even before the ANC came into power. So from it, we built what is currently today the white paper in local government. And from the white paper in local government came out the Municipal Structures Act, came out the Municipal Systems Act, came out the Municipal Finance Management Act, and all this progressive legislation that ran the present-day local government came from the thinking of the ANC. So without the ANC, there is no municipality, and without the ANC, there is no good working municipality. But it's a shame. We're saying it's a shame that some of the worst municipalities in the country are ANC-controlled municipalities, where the ANC holds an unquestionable majority. And we begin to say, but how does this happen? So we are therefore saying voters will never be happy, program director, with the national and provincial government when they have no water, when refuse is not collected, when street lights are dead, when raw sewer flows into their homes, and where the local economy is stagnant. We call upon the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal to hold us, its local government leaders, accountable. Municipalities that fail to spend capital grants, call us. Mayors and municipal managers, CFOs. Let us explain, how did my municipality fail to spend 31 million rand when people don't have a road, when people don't have roads? How did it happen that money had to go back to Treasury when there is a municipal manager, when there are professionals appointed to do work? Maybe there is a reason, maybe there is something that we don't know, program director, that we have to hear. How do we justify to our people money has gone back to Pretoria, but they've been complaining about the road for the past 5 years, and the road is not being built? Yes, there's money going back to Pretoria, which is more than what it would cost to build a gravel road at Ndwedwe or at Dr. NDZ in Pulwa. Now, we are saying as the ILGM, let's call us and let's account. Municipalities that are bankrupt, the MM doesn't know where the money went to, the mayor doesn't know, the CFO doesn't know, but invoices for work that has not been done are getting paid. Payment certificates for work that is incomplete have been signed off to enable invoices to be paid fully for work that has been partly done. And these are some of the things that the ANC must boldly talk about in order to restore its confidence in the voters. How do municipalities spend above the threshold on salaries? A municipality ceases to be an instrument for service delivery, but we start to create an employment bureau. Let's bring everyone. Let's give you a job for dishing out jobs and patronage. And at the end of the day, the municipality is unable to perform its responsibilities, yet it's spending 100% on salaries. It's performing well on salaries, but money is not spent. What are we paying people for? So what we are saying is that municipalities were really MMs and CFOs fully knowing, agree that the municipality should spend 65% of its budget on salaries, and then the other little money goes towards services. That's not correct. And we know it's not correct, but why are we allowing it? Why do we continue to fill vacant positions? We know our people want jobs, but why does the continue to fill vacant positions when you know full well that a big chunk of your budget pays for salaries and very little goes towards services, and people want services? Corruption must be eradicated. I've spoken about that in ANC municipalities. ANC municipalities cannot and should not adopt unfunded budgets. When I know I'm getting 50 million rand program director, why do I write a budget and give it to the mayor and say, Mayor, here, this is budget speech. We are going to spend, tell the people we're going to spend 80 million rand when we know the money that we have is 50 million. And the mayor goes out and reads the speech. Maybe unknowingly, mayors are not professionals like us. Maybe unknowingly, the mayor will read the speech. But when provincial treasurer or national treasurer says to you, Vezi, your budget is unfunded, then I must be able to correct it. I cannot continue to spend a budget that is not funded. Actually, it's a criminal offense to do that. So lastly, I'm saying two last things. We must reduce the incidence, program director, of UIFW, unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. Municipalities are raking in billions, in KwaZulu-Natal alone, of millions and millions of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Money that is spent in vain and an expenditure that could have been avoided. Because that's the definition of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I am proud, Program Director, that in my municipality, in the current year, only 385,000 rand in the last year was declared UIFW by the Auditor General. The previous year, it was only 103,000 rand. I lead by example. 103,000 rand. Lastly, Program Director, we call upon the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal to be quick to intervene in its municipalities where tensions between management and politicians appear to be crippling the performance of the municipality. Managers get suspended for 3-4 years. The disciplinary process does not kick in. And for some of us, it is nice and good that the is away from where he is causing problems. We are able to do our thing because the CFO who talks too much is suspended, is sitting at home. Anyway, government is paying him. We don't worry. CFO is enjoying his salary, is sitting at home. We are able to do our thing here. Quickly, because some of the people that are in local government, starting from municipal managers, are not there for service delivery, but they are there to steal, and they want to steal as much as they can before you catch them. Thank you, Program Director. That's the position of the ILGM.
Yeah, thank you, Babu Vezi. Thank you to all the people who came to represent their sectors here. I will now invite the provincial coordinator. Okay. Pungane is going to do a summary and respond.
No, he's going to respond.
Is going to respond, and then Comrade Coordinator will do a summary.
Thanks, Comrade Chair. Let me also take this opportunity of thanking all professionals in their various professions for having come here and made the inputs that have done. Mine is just to respond to some of the few issues that are just picked up. The first one from PPF, that the think tank is not being utilized. So I want to commit here before you that we'll make sure that there are continuous engagements to ensure that all the deliberations, your concerns, can be effectively implemented where we can be able to play a role as the provincial task team to ensure that our deployees are able to be on board to what you have just said. On accountability, the provincial task team at its very first meeting adopted a program of action, and part of the elements of this program of action is to hold all our deployees in government, be it MECs, like I see one MEC here, Nomagugu, Shomuga, and Duma, and all those in the provincial legislature to be accountable, and all our councillors at a local government level. This we're going to be doing by ensuring that we adopt an effective monitoring and evaluation mechanism. I'm happy to indicate as well that at our first meeting of the Political Council of the Alliance, the SACP, COSATU, and SANCO, we are also of the same mind that we will have a joint monitoring and evaluation mechanism to ensure that we leave no stone unturned for people to account. And I must emphasize that this accountability is not merely to us as leaders of a political party. These deployees must actually account to the people, because you are the people that deserve better services. On the issue of the poor problem in the 30s, yes, this was a very effective policy by the then government of the day. It started with what they call the Carnegie Commission, where a very special fund from the United States funded the investigation of how to solve the poor white problem in South Africa. All the major dams you see in South Africa today emanated from that project of the 1930s, where public works projects were implemented, the creation of state corporations such as Eskom, Transnet, and so on, to employ Afrikaners who were being discriminated by the British and so on. So that program was very effective. I remember myself when I was Minister of Public Works in 1994. I read a lot about this Carnegie Commission. I even went to the United States of America to meet the Army Corps of Engineers that build major public works programs in America. Highways that you see there, it was after the Depression of the 1930s. So the point being that program was good. That is why we ourselves in South Africa today, because the majority of our people are still poor, so we still need pro-poor programs in order to ensure that we recede it to the past. I agree with my brother-in-law from the legal. I don't know why people say legal fraternity. Why didn't you say legal sorority? I thought women were going to object, but I see my lady in the medical profession also talks about the medical fraternity. So the issue of the transformation of the judiciary, I think, is a very key thing, and I think it's ongoing, but I'm still concerned about the skewed briefing patterns. There's the Office of the State Attorney. I had thought some years ago when I was deployed there that we had developed a mechanism of ensuring that the state attorney, both in Pretoria and in the provinces, there is a systematic way of ensuring that previously disadvantaged lawyers are briefed, but clearly from what you are saying, it is not being done. I will have a pep talk with my colleague, the Minister of Justice, to see what else can be done in order to ensure that is implemented. On the Zondo report, I think all of us are in agreement that there has to be implementation of those recommendations, because about 1 billion rand was paid by the taxpayer to produce that report, so it must be followed. On managers, when the professor was speaking here, I even thought he was referring to me when they say there are causes of anxieties and so on. But that's a discussion for another day. On the issues of on the medical profession, I am aware that there is a challenge there. I once recall some lady who was talking to me that sometimes after studying medicine in Cuba, some of the institutions in South Africa do not want to recognize that training. I don't know how that comes about, because there are international treaties between countries for reciprocal recognition of profession. So maybe the Minister of Health or the MEC of Health is here, maybe he can give us an outline on that. Lastly, on local government, I agree with the municipal manager. We want a clean, accountable local government. Those who do not spend money, actually, to me, it's a crime. It's tantamount to saying that we want to perpetuate poverty, inequality, and also no infrastructure for our communities. Like these 9 municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal that have not spent 7.5 billion rand of their budget for the financial year 2023-2024, and capital works of more than 2.6 billion rand not being spent. So that must be a dismissible offense in my view, that you return money to the treasury. Why would you budget in the first instance for monies that you know you are not going to be spending? What is even more damaging is that the Minister of Finance and the whole Treasury team, they have 2 sources of funds. You and I as the taxpayers. Number 2, they have to borrow the money. So if, as he said, almost R1 trillion, actually is the biggest expenditure item in the current budget before even education and health, the retiring, the debt service cost. So every year, government, by implication us as taxpayers, have to pay interest on the loan. So if we do not spend the money, we are also obliged as taxpayers and government to pay for monies that have not been spent. So it's a waste of financial resources. So I want to encourage mayors to take firm steps against all those recalcitrant managers who do not spend monies that have been appropriately appropriated by the local government. It goes without saying that corruption is a no-no. We're going to hold you accountable. Watch this space.
Thank you very much, Comrade Convener Bungane. I will now invite the Provincial Coordinator.
Well, thank you very much, Program Director. Program Director, let me say, when I sum up today's proceedings, first and foremost, we would have loved to have more engagement, But we want to start by saying today is not the end, today is the beginning of the process. So we want to assure you that we will be engaging with the professionals through your professions where it is necessary, but we'll also be engaging through PPF so that we are able to ensure that we maintain a continuous and a constructive discussions with you. Discussions at times may be robust, so be it. It'll be frank, it'll be candid, but what we want is to have discussions that contribute to advancing the interests of society. And that is where we are coming from. We are saying we are putting our people first. So the first thing is that let's then agree that today is going to be the start of a continuous process of engagement. That's number one. Number two, we are simply saying that we are already preparing to be able to rope in the professionals in some of the work that already we are working on. As an alliance, we are already preparing to have an alliance local government summit at the end of this month, somewhere in May. And the task team, technical team already has been put together, and we will be finalizing it by this afternoon, midday, today. And it is constituted, that technical team, by the professionals. People who understand the space of local government, some of them who are in the financial sector, some of them who may be bringing in the skills in governance, and they will be helping us. We've already developed an assessment tool of how are we going to assess. And all we need is to look at all municipalities. And they will be looking at the municipalities, those that we govern as the ANC and those that we don't. All of the 54 municipalities. In those where we govern, we must know what we need to fix. In those where we don't govern, we must know what we need to do to ensure that the interests and the issues of the people are addressed, and that we become an effective opposition. So there is no space for us to say where we don't govern, it's none of our business. It is our business. We have to put our people first. The third is that we also are going to be preparing for the political and economic development summit that we have agreed as an alliance we must have to dealing with issues of the economy and social transformation, issues of the jobs, issues of economic growth, all of these issues at the provincial level, and what we need to do. We are actually opening up a space for everyone in the process, in the period leading towards that, to be able to make contributions so that when we then meet, we do not come up with rhetorical resolutions. We are very pragmatic and we are informed. And therefore that we actually have a constructive process. So that is the third part. The fourth is that we are already working on rolling out the foundation course. And that foundation course is going to almost all of our structures. Again, we are glad that as an alliance, we are agreeing on a minimum education, political education that all of us should have, which should then be this foundation course that is done through the OR Tambo School, a political school. It has got 5 modules. As a matter of fact, we want all members of the ANC to undergo that foundation course. Because some of the biggest challenges we are confronted with is that we do not understand our own movement. There is a disjuncture between what the movement represents and stands for and what we, at times as leaders, we do. We have to bridge the chasm in that regard. The fifth is that we must say, as we sum up, There are issues that are specific in each and every profession. We have taken note of those issues. The medical profession, for instance, raises issues. The legal fraternity raises its own issues. And all other professions will have their own issues that we must deal with. We have taken note of those issues. And therefore, when we engage with you as a profession, we'll be expecting you to probably elucidate and a time for us to engage. We understood, for instance, with lawyers about the issues of the briefs, and where maybe we will be leading as the ANC in municipalities and some of our departments. Of course, we are now smaller, we're unlike where we were when we were running the government, the province. Now we have a limitation of where we can actually be able to issue instructions. But I think those issues are issues of engagement. So we would like to actually then discuss how practically can we be able to make headway on those issues. So we can, when we engage with each profession on the basis of each issues, we will then be able to deal with those issues in detail. 6, we definitely want a social compact. The reason why in the first instance, we actually are engaging with all sectors. And by sectors, let me say at a broadest level. Today we started with the professionals. Tomorrow we are engaging with the religious sector. On Thursday we are engaging with the traditional leaders. On Tuesday we are engaging with the business sector. On Wednesday we are engaging with civil society. On Thursday next week we are engaging with the thought leaders and opinion makers and others. But there are 3 other sectors that we had not scheduled their meetings, which we will now be including. We have to engage with the women as a sector, because there are many, many issues affecting women, their own development, and issues that actually require us as the ANC to take struggles of women to be our struggles. Because those struggles are struggles of all of us. They're not just struggles of women. The other sector is the youth sector. It has got unique challenges. And we must then engage with that sector on the issues of youth unemployment and many, many other issues that are there that requires an ANC that is understanding and also participating in dealing with issues that are affecting young people. And last of those sectors is the elderly sector. There are issues that are involving elderly people. And at times we appear to be seen to be oblivious in dealing with matters that are involving young people when those matters are ought to be dealt with, so that we are not seen not to be dealing with matters that are involving the elderly. So the point I'm simply saying, our work is cut out, so we are clear that when we engage with each and every sector, the net end result is for us to be able to ensure that we are able to get into this social compact. Now, the 2 last things, therefore, that we want to resolve is that we want to assure you. Can I sort it out? I want to assure you that we are committing to ensuring that the ANC will be visible on the ground. The ANC will work with our partners, but the ANC must be in communities. When we have our Fridays with communities, which is our campaign, it is a campaign that is aimed at ensuring that all of us, at least on Fridays, one day, it doesn't have to be on a Friday only, but we must be seen in a community. We must be seen changing the suit and tie and smart dress into the work where you are actually serving people. We can't serve people through theoretical. We must be practical. So our own approach, therefore, is to simply say, we're going to invite you. When we go and clean the parks, when we go and clean the beaches, when we go and we look at the issues affecting communities, we will not do this on the 18th of July only. we will do this even for almost like 365 days a year. So comrades and colleagues and friends and compatriots, we just want to simply say, this has been a very fruitful engagement. So I'm taking these are key takeaways, and therefore we are going to continuously be engaging. Through the subcommittees of the PTT and the leadership of the PWC, all of us are going to be out there, and you are going to be working with us. And in some of your activities, we shall deploy members of the PTT and members of the PWC of the ANC. So we are a 66-member PTT, and we will use the numbers we have to reach out to all of you. Thank you very much on that score.
Thank you, Comrade Coordinator. I will now invite our fundraiser, Comrade Nomagugu Simelane Mngadi.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I think a vote of thanks has been done by both coordinator and convener. Kodwa-ke, coordinator felt that all of us must get an opportunity to take the mic, so please bear with me if I repeat anything that has been said before. Greetings to the leadership of the PTT, led by the convener and the coordinator, all the members, the officials that are here, PWC members, leadership of the Alliance. I saw Wab Umvelase, I also saw the Provincial Secretary of COSATU, Comrade Ukabazela, leaders of all professional bodies that are here, all professional present, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed Nomagugu Simelane. Kodwa-ke, ngoba abantu abadala, they want to insist, I am also Mrs. Mngadi. Are you happy, dear? Thank you very much. Comrades and colleagues, we really want to appreciate this opportunity of having you here, having woken up so early in the morning, and majority of you were actually held up in traffic this morning, and we appreciate the challenge that you had to go through. Traffic again these days is really a serious issue that all of us have to deal with. A special thank you to all the professionals and representatives of various sectors who brought your knowledge, insight, as well as passion for progress of the African National Congress, and indeed our province and the country as a whole. As a result of your thoughtful input, this has been a highly insightful and intellectually stimulating meeting of minds. We do not take for granted the fact that you sacrificed your morning, and majority of you still have to go back to work. It's 10 to 11, so I think most of us have work to go back to. So we do appreciate that you took that time. You have raised critical issues, you have asked tough questions, and you have also offered practical ideas and solutions. I like the last presentation and Yema by local government management, and I hope Ubabu Vezi speaks like that to his fellow MMs when he gets an opportunity to do so, because as managers, it's your responsibility to actually manage. And I heard Utatewe to speaking on behalf of managers as well. I saw that she was championing for the mental health and so forth of managers, which I agree with. But it's also important that we emphasize that when you are given a responsibility to manage, you actually should manage. So it's part of what we agree with yourselves on, and we hope that moving forward we will be able to engage the different managers at different levels, where we'll make sure that we change the attitude. We have found, colleagues, a situation where our managers, particularly in the public sector, are no longer interested in bringing change towards the lives of our people. And I think that's one of the areas where we need to be able to work together to say, how do we change that? Ubabu Bega knows he was a manager for a long time in government, or a leading Operation Sugumasake in particular, and you would have to work very, very hard to get managers from different levels to come and work together towards a bigger vision. And that social compact, Dr. Zwane, that you speak about, for us to be able to implement it, we will really have to go down, not just at this level, but we'll have to go to all the layers of management and professionals so that we are able to bring about change to the lives of our people. But as the ANC, indeed, we support the inputs that have been made, and we do make a commitment that we will go back, discuss them, and find a proper way of actually implementing, because if we don't do so, it means whatever that we've been doing here today will indeed would have been futile, and it is not what we want to do. This kind of dialogue is exactly what we need as we continue to pick up the real spear, umkhonto wangempela lo African National Congress. Work the ground and move forward as the African National Congress with yourselves. As the ANC, we are under no illusion about the moment we are in. We know that if the ANC is to continue being the torchbearer of social justice, transformation, and black excellence, it must first rebuild itself, not only in structure, but in the values it stands for, in instilling discipline within and among its ranks, and in its ability to lead with credibility. That is why this process of renewal is a mission to reconnect with society and to reposition the ANC as a trustworthy and capable force for change. But most importantly, to also reconnect with yourselves. There was a question that was asked by Dr. Zane earlier on, to say, we need to say, what is it that the ANC has done that forces professionals not to want to associate themselves with the African National Congress? It's a difficult question. It's a tough question, but in ensuring that we are able to analyze ourselves in the EMA, we will have to ask that tough questions of ourselves and come up with solutions, come up with proper responses firstly, because you can't come up with a solution without having a response. So we need to be able to answer that question honestly so that we are able to actually correct the situation as the matter stands currently. We also know that the ANC cannot rebuild alone. It needs to rebuild with and among the very same people it fought for, professionals, the intellectuals, entrepreneurs, and civic-minded leaders. It was the ANC working with the strategic partners that fought for the political and social freedoms that we enjoy today, and I think Ubaba Upungane or Comrade Upungane spoke in detail about that, which some people today unfortunately take for granted. These are the freedoms that allow young people from townships, rural areas to become a professional and entrepreneur or a change maker in spaces that were once considered impossible to enter. As the ANC, we have a vested interest in seeing a society that works and a thriving, fair, and inclusive economy, because when the economy grows, our people grow with it. Therefore, we are deeply honored and encouraged by your presence, contributions, and your willingness to work with the African National Congress. We thank each and every one of you for answering this call, and we thank each and every one of you for making sure that you contribute towards creating a new environment where the ANC is able to actually implement its renewal program. But we appreciate the fact that you yourselves are willing to work with the African National Congress to bring back lost ground and be able to ensure that the ANC is redirected in the direction that it has always been always supposed to go to, which is working for the poor and working for the masses of South Africa. Thank you very much, and thank you, comrades. I hear everyone calling the comrade, everyone in the meeting comrade, so I'm assuming all of us are comrades. Comrade Lusanda said he hopes she will see all of us in Totutos. I'm looking at my colleagues there in the legal fraternity. I hope we will see you in some of our Totutos. But we appreciate the fact that it's not all our contribution yet is not the same. Some will contribute towards door-to-door, but some will want to contribute in terms of their skill and whatever experience that they have. We welcome all of that, and we hope you'll be able to come and assist us. I see you are now happier than you were before. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Siyabonga, and we apologize for keeping you for so long, but I'm sure you are all happy for what we've listened to. Thank you very much. Breakfast is served.